Thank you for stopping by. I am Jeffrey Weiss, your political activist, keeping you informed of local and world events. Today we discuss Donald Trump set to commit suicide. Yesterday, after finishing the biographies of George Washington, John Adams, Ben Franklin, and Thomas Jefferson, Donald Trump realized how detrimental his arrogance and ignorance have been to the country. He feared that if he remained in office, he would bring down all the great institutions of government built on the backs and the minds of the founding fathers, men who Trump is not fit to shine the shoes of. Walking through the halls of the White House last night, Trump was heard muttering the following quotes over and over again. When the agenda of government is to preserve itself rather than the freedoms of its people, then every citizen has the obligation to fight back. Thomas Paine. They who can give up essential liberty to obtain temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. Ben Franklin. Experience has shown that even under the best forms of government, those entrusted with power have, in time and by slow operations, perverted it to tyranny. Thomas Jefferson. Fear is the foundation of most governments. John Adams. The cry has been that when war is declared, all opposition should therefore be hushed. A sentiment more unworthy of a free country could hardly be propagated. If the doctrine be admitted, rulers have only to declare war, and they are screened at once from scrutiny. William Ellerby, a founding father of the Constitution. The jaws of power are always open to devour, and her arm is always stretched out to destroy the freedom of thinking, speaking, and writing. John Adams. Remember, democracy never lasts long. It soon wastes, exhausts, and murders itself. John Adams. We have no government armed with power capable of contending with human passions unbridled by morality and religion. Avarice, ambition, revenge, and gallantry would break the strongest cords of our Constitution as a whale goes through a fishing net. Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. John Adams. If ye love wealth greater than liberty, the tranquility of servitude greater than the animating contest for freedom, go home from us in peace. We seek not your counsel nor your arms. Crouch down and lick the hand that feeds you, and may prosperity forget that ye were our countrymen. Samuel Adams. He therefore is the truest friend to the liberty of this country, who tries most to promote its virtue, and who, so far as his power and influence extend, will not suffer a man to be chosen into any office of power and trust who is not wise and virtuous man. The sum of all is, if we would most truly enjoy this gift of heaven, let us become a virtuous people. Sam Adams. If ever time should come when vain and aspiring men shall possess the highest seat in government, our country will stand in need of its experienced patriots to prevent its ruin. Samuel Adams. Without morals, a republic cannot subsist any length of time. They therefore who are decrying the Christian religion, whose morality is so sublime and pure, and which ensures to the good eternal happiness, are undermining the solid foundation of morals, the best security for the durations of free governments. Charles Carroll, signer of the Declaration. I have lived, sir, a long time, and the longer I live, the more convincing proofs I see of this truth, that God governs the affairs of men, and if a sparrow cannot fall to the ground without his notice, it is probable that an empire cannot rise without his aid. Ben Franklin. Democracy is two wolves and a lamb voting on what to have for lunch. Liberty is a well-armed lamb contesting the vote. Ben Franklin. Freedom is not a gift bestowed upon us by other men, but a right that belongs to us by the laws of God and nature. Ben Franklin. Man will ultimately be governed by God, nor not by tyrants. Ben Franklin. The liberties of a people never were, nor ever will be, secure when the transactions of their rulers may be concealed from them. Patrick Henry. The Constitution is not an instrument for the government to restrain people. It is an instrument for the people to restrain the government, lest it become to dominate our lives and interests. Patrick Henry. The battle, sir, is not to the strong alone. It is to the vigilant, the active, the brave. Besides, sir, we have no election. If we were base enough to desire it, it is now too late to retire from the contest. There is no retreat but in submission and slavery. Our chains are forged. Their clanging may be heard on the plains of Boston. The war is inevitable, and let it come. I repeat, sir, let it come. Patrick Henry. It cannot be emphasized too strongly or too often that this great nation was founded not by religionists, but by Christians, not on religions, but on the gospel of Jesus Christ. For this very reason, people of other faiths must be afforded asylum, prosperity, and freedom of worship here. Patrick Henry. Bad men cannot make good citizens. A vitiated state of morals, a corrupt public consciousness are incomparable with freedom. Patrick Henry. History in general only informs us what bad government is. Thomas Jefferson. The man who reads nothing at all is better educated than the man who reads nothing but newspapers. Thomas Jefferson. I know no safe depository of the ultimate powers of the society but the people themselves. And if we think them not enlightened enough to exercise their control with a wholesome discretion, the remedy is not to take it from them, but to inform their discretion by education. This is the true corrective of abuse of constitutional power. Thomas Jefferson. I tremble for my country when I reflect that God is just, that his justice cannot sleep forever. Thomas Jefferson. If a nation expects to be ignorant and free in a state of civilization, it expects what never was and never will be. Thomas Jefferson. America will never be destroyed from the outside. It will falter and lose our freedoms. It will be because we destroyed ourselves. Abraham Lincoln. To sin by silence when they should protest makes cowards of men. Abraham Lincoln. I believe there are more instances of the abridgment of the freedom of the people by the gradual and silent encroachment of those in power than by violent and sudden usurpation. James Madison. The reason of defense against foreign danger historically has become the instruments of tyranny at home. James Madison. Those who expect to reap the blessings of freedom must, like men, undergo the fatigue of supporting it. Thomas Paine. It is the duty of the patriot to protect his country from its government. Thomas Paine. The cause of America is in a great measure the cause of all mankind. Where, some say, is the King of America? I'll tell you, friend, he reigns above. Thomas Paine. Those people who will not be governed by God will be ruled by tyrants. William Penn. Patriotism means to stand by the country. It does not mean to stand by the president or any other public official, save exactly to the degree in which he himself stands by the country. It is patriotic to support him insofar as he efficiently serves the country. It is unpatriotic not to oppose him to the extent exact that by inefficiency or otherwise he fails to stand in to he otherwise falls in his duty to stand by the country. Theodore Roosevelt. Hold on, my friends, to the Constitution and to the Republic for which it stands. Miracles do not cluster, and what has happened once in 600 years may not happen again. Hold on to the Constitution, for if the American Constitution should fail, there will be anarchy throughout the world. Daniel Webster. During Donald Trump's realization that he has subverted the Constitution, bastardized the Bill of Rights, belittled the great men of history, bypassed the great institutions of man, was too great for him. He has written a suicide note asking for forgiveness from all men and women who revere and uphold man's laws and God's laws. If my articles interest you, please use the link to check out my website and books. Thank you very much.